بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Is there a difference between men and women? There are some that say the difference between men and women biologically and psychologically is very minimal. And it is very backward to think that there are actual differences between men and women. Yes, there are obvious differences in their body structure, in the reproductive organs, in pregnancy, in the monthly menstrual cycle, but that's about it. There are some who believe those that say there are biological and psychological differences between men and women. They have ulterior motives. Their motives is to steal the rights of women, undermine their roles, and in essence, protect the interests of men. Is this true? That the differences between men and women, biologically and psychologically, they're minimal, or the differences are clear? The differences are big. Such a claim that the differences are minimal could have been made decades ago or centuries ago. But today, with all the research, with all the scientific evidence, it is quite shocking to say that there are no differences. There are lots of differences, biological as well as psychological. However, when we say that men and women are different, we are not saying that men are complete and women are incomplete. Absolutely not. It's not an issue of who's better. It's not an issue of who's complete and who's incomplete. Not at all. We feel that there are differences, and these differences, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put them for a reason. There's a wisdom behind these differences. Allah could have created men and women completely the same, biologically and psychologically. But He didn't, for a wisdom behind it. We believe that when Allah made men and women different, He made them complementary. Men complete women, and women complete men. The roles are complementary. Thus, these differences did not occur by coincidence. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made men stronger. We shall see the differences. When He made men stronger, it wasn't for a coincidence, by coincidence. There's a wisdom. There's a reason behind it. If women are more emotional than men, there's a reason. There's a wisdom behind it. It didn't occur by coincidence. Thus, they are different for a reason. It doesn't mean that men are greater, or it doesn't mean that women are less complete than men are. They are different because each one has his or her own role, and those differences help them carry out those roles. It's like our different body parts and the different organs in our body. Our body parts, they don't act all the same. Our eyes don't have the same function as our ears. Our eyes are different from the ears. Does this mean that the eyes are bigger than the ears? Or that you could do away without your ears and keep your eyes if you were given a choice? No, you want all of your body parts. These different body parts and these different body organs that have various functions and are different from the other, they serve to make up one healthy, functioning body. It's the same with the genders. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created men and women differently, biologically, psychologically, so that they make up one healthy, functioning, what? Family. This is the whole point. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Plato, everyone knows, was a very well-known Greek scholar and philosopher. Plato has a book called The Republic, and he has a theory. He says that men and women are essentially the same. They have the same capabilities, they have the same potential. There's no difference between men and women. Thus, any rights you give to men, you have to give to women. Any privileges that you give to men, you have to give to women. This includes training for the army. The same way men train to be in the army, women should train to be in the army. The same way men are trained to be athletes, women should be trained to be athletes. But when you ask this great philosopher, so then what's the difference between men and women? He says the difference is in quantity, not quality. Men are strong, women are also strong, but men are stronger. But it's the same kind of strength. It's an issue of quantity. Men have it more. Women are emotional. Men are also emotional. But women are just a bit more emotional. That's the same kind of emotion. Thus, it's an issue of quantity. That's it. It's an issue of more and less. But essentially, men and women are the same. This is Plato in his book, The Republic. His student, Aristotle, came after Plato and he refined this theory in his book, Politics. Aristotle said that this theory is not accurate. There are differences between men and women. And the differences are not just quantity-wise, they're quality-wise. There's quality differences between men and women. Men and women have different capabilities. And they have different potentials. And because of the different capabilities, they should have different roles and different responsibilities. While Plato was saying that men and women should have the same roles and the same responsibilities. There shouldn't be a difference. Aristotle was saying no. Because of the different capabilities, their responsibilities should also be different. And their roles should also be different because of their nature. Not because society says, let's give these roles to men and other roles to women. No, it's an issue of nature. It's because men, due to their nature, they can undertake certain roles, and women, because of their nature, they can undertake other roles. And then Aristotle continues. He says, proof of this, proof of that there are essential differences, quality differences between men and women. What is considered a virtue for men is not considered a virtue for women. For example, courage. Courage is a virtue for whom? For men, not for women. And what is seen being emotional. Being emotional is a virtue for women, but it's a vice for men. This is Aristotle. Thus, today, not just today, from decades ago, researchers, scientists have discovered essential differences between men and women. Why am I mentioning this? Why talk about the differences between men and women? Because in the nights to come, when we discuss certain Islamic laws pertaining to men and women, many of these laws go back to these essential differences. They go back to the differences to the differences biologically and psychologically between men and women. Thus, Islam is not biased. For example, when Islam gives certain laws, for example, Islam says that a virgin woman requires the permission of her father for marriage, while a young man doesn't. Some of these differences in laws, they come back to the biology and the psychology, as we shall say. So keep this in mind. This is why I put this lecture before those, so that we'll be referring to this lecture later on. Because many of these laws, they go back to the biology and the psychology. We come to the biological and physiological differences between men and women that have been mentioned by scientists, researchers, and scholars. And this is generally speaking. You might say, well, say not all women are like this. I'll say yes. Not all men will fall into this category. I'll say yes. Generally speaking, according to researchers, men and women have such qualities. Number one, men are larger sized than women, generally speaking. Men are taller than women, biologically, generally speaking. Sometimes, you will get a man that's a midget and a woman double the size. That will happen. But generally speaking, a man is taller than a woman. Men have rougher skin, women have softer skin. Women have stronger immune systems than men do, generally speaking. Women reach puberty and maturation before men do. Men have bigger brains than women do. However, in relation to their body size, women have bigger brains than women do. So if you compare the size of the brain of a man and a woman, the man has a bigger brain. But in comparison to their body size, women have larger brains. Men's lungs can take in more oxygen than women's lungs. And women's heartbeats are faster than men's heartbeats. These are some biological and physiological differences between women and women. And of course, this is in addition to the differences in the reproductive system, the issue of pregnancy, the issue of menstrual cycle. In addition to all those differences, these are some of the physiological and biological differences. We come to what is more important, the psychological differences. Men and women, biologically, they're different. But perhaps this does not have an effect on Islamic laws as much as the differences in psychology. The differences in psychology are vast, and they affect Islamic laws. For example, men psychologically are more fond of exercise, sports, wrestling, and fighting, while as women are more peaceful and lean towards less physical action. Proof of this is that men like action movies, while guys like what? I'm sorry, men like action movies and girls like chick flicks. Women like chick flicks. What worries me is that there are some guys that also like chick flicks. This is one. Two, men have a tendency to become angry a lot quicker than women are. Women, in comparison to men, are calmer, and they are less likely to become angry. Men are more violent than women are, towards others and towards themselves. Towards others and towards themselves. So you're more likely to see a fight break out between guys than you are to see a chick fight. Just the probabilities of seeing guys fight is a lot more. Even suicide rates. You will notice that suicide rates among men are higher than women. And in suicide tactics, you will see that men tend to use more violent suicide tactics. For example, they'll use a gun. They'll use a dagger. They'll jump off a cliff or a bridge. Or they'll hang themselves. While usually women use more peaceful suicide tactics like sleeping pills. This is according to statistics. Number three, women's emotions are triggered a lot faster than men's emotions. And when I say emotions, this includes love, hate, fear. These are all emotions. It's triggered into women a lot faster than men, generally speaking. Generally speaking, this is the case. And proof of this, I'll tell you firsthand, proof that women's emotions are triggered faster than men are. When we recite about Imam Hossein, the first that are to cry are the women's side. We will see a lot more sisters crying for Imam Hossein than the women's side. Also, psychologically, according to statistics, women care more about how they look than men do. They are more self-conscious than men are. Women are more religious and cautious than men are, generally speaking, according to statistics. According to statistics, women are more religious than men are. Women are more polite, according to certain statistics, even with their own enemies. Even with an enemy, they're more polite, they're more diplomatic. Among the differences is that women have motherhood tendencies ever since childhood. You will see a little girl, if she sees a baby, if she sees a child, she'll like to carry it, feed it. They're probably not going to change its diaper, but still they have love and affection towards little children. While young men, not so much. Women are stronger in differentiating between colors, while many men are colorblind. Men have a stronger ability to keep a secret. Women have less of an ability to keep a secret, even if that secret can damage her. Okay, this is one of my favorite. One of the psychological differences between men and women is that women need to vent. As guys, we don't vent. Let me give you an example. You're a young lady. You're invited to a party that's going to be packed with other women. So you go shopping all day long, and you finally pick that really, really nice dress. Now you go to the party, and your worst nightmare comes to life. What's that worst nightmare? There's someone else wearing the same exact dress. Now, that's hard. You can't stay at that party. You're going to have to come back home and speak to someone about it. And you can probably talk about that incident for an hour, for 2 hours. and you'll probably talk to your girlfriend about it, and you'll enjoy talking about it, maybe for hours. But us guys, men, we don't vent. If they face a problem, if they face an issue, they talk to a guy friend, it'll take about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, maximum 10 minutes, and khalas, he's going to move on. That's why you don't see, generally speaking, you don't see a man that can talk on the phone for more than 7 minutes, 8 minutes. Unless he's talking about how to make money, then that's going to take a little bit longer. But if it has nothing to do with money, that phone call takes an average of 7 minutes. A woman who can talk to for 37 minutes, an hour or so. This is one of the differences. Women vent, they need to, if they have something on their chest, it has to come out, while men, they have a stronger tendency to keeping things in. Among the differences, psychological differences between men and women, is that women love change and men hate change. For example, a wife comes back home, or she's at work. She has to change something in the house, something in the living room, the sofas. I mean, even if it's not a big deal, but this sofa has to come over here, that one has to go over there, this one has to come here. There has to be some sort of change. If there's no change, life will become dull. Life will become just boring. They'll go to the cupboard, the salt has to change from here to there, pepper has to, this is necessary. While for men, they can have a consistent life for 20 years. For God's sake, they can have the same haircut for the next 30 years. They're not going to complain. It's a nice haircut. They'll live with it. So that's one thing. Women lean towards change because without change, generally speaking, there will always be exceptions. There'll be a case in which a man leans towards change and a woman doesn't. But generally speaking, this is the case. Among the differences, psychologically, and this is important, and I want you to keep this in mind for the coming lectures, inshallah. According to statistics, that the most precious words that a woman can hear from her husband is what? Is what? I love you. And the most precious words that a husband can hear from his wife is what? I love you? No. I'm proud of you. That's number 2. But the first sentence that a man considers precious to hear from his wife is not I love you. It's I'm proud of you. And this is very important. For the wife, it's I love you. For the husband, it's I'm proud of you. Why? Because for a wife, for a woman, the most precious thing in this life is for her to be loved. It's for someone to love her. If she doesn't feel loved, she doesn't feel precious. And she doesn't feel special, and in return, she doesn't feel successful. She feels like a failure. While for a man, for him to feel successful is to make sure that the person that he loves is proud of him. If he doesn't feel successful, he'll feel like a failure. If he's not pleasing his wife, and if she's not proud of him, he'll feel like a failure. This is the difference in psychology. This is one of the differences. Among the differences, when it comes to sexual desire, women have a stronger desire. However, women have more self-control. It's been proven that their desire is greater, but at the same time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them more self-control. While men have lesser desire and lesser self-control. This is also important. Keep it in mind, and we'll address it in the nights to come. According to statistics, that women are drawn and are attracted to men that are brave, men that are bold, men that are courageous, according to statistics. While, on the contrary, men are attracted and drawn to the woman that's shy, that's timid, that, let's use the term, plays hard to get, that's not so available, according to statistics. When attracted, men are less shy, they become more bold, and they are more likely to show their desire. They are more likely to show their interest. If they're attracted, and if they have set their object of desire, they will be less shy, less timid, more bold, more courageous, and they will set out to get what they want. While women, on the contrary, they'll be shy, they'll make themselves, this is supposed to be their nature. I'm not talking about what's occurring nowadays, in the year 2012, and what happens over social networks. It's in their essence to be shy, to be timid, to not be so available. Usually, it's in their nature for the man to go after the woman, and not for the woman to go after the guy. Unless she's completely lost her shyness, or the guy looks like George Clooney. And this is an instinct that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put into women, to be shy and to be timid. Because men are attracted to women that are shy. Men have more respect for women that are shy. Men have more respect for women that make themselves less available, as we shall see. Men will have less respect for a woman that isn't shy, that makes herself available, and will chase the guy herself. He might like it. It might go well with his ego, but at the end of the day, he's not going to like it for a wife. A man doesn't want his wife to have come and run after him. He wanted to go and run after her. This goes back to their nature. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created men and women. When feeling fulfilled, men feel fulfilled when they have someone to protect and to look after and to provide for. Men feel fulfilled when they have someone who they protect, provide for, and look after. Women feel fulfilled. Women feel fulfilled when they have someone to protect them and provide for them and to look out after them. When expressing love, men and women are different. Woman's love is more of a passionate, compassionate, motherly kind of love. She'll give nicknames, cupcake, teddy bear, munchkin, things like this. When a woman falls in love, she can talk for hours on the phone until she either loses her voice or the guy loses his mind. This is for them an expression of love. It's motherly. She makes any woman, when she's in love with a man and she expresses her love towards that man, she makes him feel like a what? A baby. A baby. He'll be attached to her because of that kindness, of all that love. When it comes to guys, they express their love completely different. Men don't use nicknames. Men don't cuddle. They don't hold hands. They have a different way of expression. They have a different way of expressing their love. Two ways. Mainly two ways. When a man loves, he expresses his love two ways. He provides, and He protects. He provides. When a man's in love, he's not going to hide what he has. He's not going to hide what belongs to him and what he makes. He's going to make sure that his family are well fed and they have what they want. This is what a man loves. He might not say anything. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm not trying to defend men for this sort of behavior. But it goes back to their DNA, to their psychology. If they're in love, they'll spend. They'll provide. Anything they make, they'll put it out in front of their family. Sometimes they'll even sacrifice. The man would want something, but if his family wants something else, they'll provide for his family first before he provides for himself. And number two, they'll protect. A man in love will never allow his family to be in danger. He will make sure that his family is always protected. This is how a man loves. After all these differences, these biological, physiological, and psychological, what's important is the psychological differences. Why are we different? Couldn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just make everyone the same? Everyone emotional, like women? Everyone aggressive, like men? Everyone strong? Why couldn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just make everyone the same? Well, He could have. There's a wisdom behind it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made men and women different for reasons. Number one, because of the law of opposites, what? Attract. If men and women were the same, they wouldn't be attracted to one another. That is why you see a man who's aggressive, he'll be attracted to a woman that's soft, that's calm. Or a woman that's calm, she might be attracted to a man that's aggressive. If we were all the same, we wouldn't be attracted to each other. It'd be like looking in the mirror. Well, sometimes looking in the mirror does feel good. Sometimes we want more than that. So number one, for attraction. Number two, for completion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us differently to complete one another. Because in a family structure, sometimes aggressiveness is required. The father has to be aggressive. Sometimes he has to lay down the law with his kids. But at other times, you need emotions. You need someone to be emotional. That's where the mother comes in. She'll show her emotions with the kids. Sometimes it's important to be aggressive. Sometimes it's important to be bold. And at other times it's important to be shy. Thus, men and women complete one another in a family structure. In the same family structure, you need someone to be shy, you need someone to be bold. You need someone to be aggressive, you need someone to be timid. This is how it works. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put this in a family structure so that the family will be a healthy, functioning family. But if both the husband and the wife are to be aggressive, there'll be fights all day. If the husband and wife were shy, there wouldn't be any fights. That's really boring. If they both had the same exact qualities, it wouldn't work. Imagine if the eye and the ear perform the same exact function. It wouldn't work. You need an organ to see, you need an organ to hear, you need an organ to smell, you need an organ to feel and touch. Thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was wise in making us different. Now I conclude with this one. There are some that say men and women should have equal rights. I agree. Islam agrees. Men and women should have equal rights. There are some that say men and women should have the same exact rights. I disagree. There's a difference between equal and the same. Islam is a proponent of equal rights. The Quran says, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِمْ. They shall have the same amount of rights as duties. In Islam, there's a balance. Islam gave men rights and gave women rights, and there's a difference. There's a balance. There's equal rights. But there's something else called same rights. Some say the same exact rights given to men should be given to women. No difference whatsoever. We tell them, look, if men and women were exactly the same biologically, psychologically, I agree. Let's give them the same exact rights. If there were no differences biologically between men and women, no differences psychologically between men and women, give them the same exact rights. But when after you've proven that there are differences, how can you give them the same exact rights? That wouldn't be fair. Let me give you an example. In Islam, men are required, well, not here, not in this country, under certain rules and regulations. We have a concept of jihad. Men are required to perform jihad under lots of rules and regulations. Jihad is upon the shoulders of men. Is it fair to tell women that we must perform jihad as well? Is it fair? I'm sorry. Well, if we're talking about same rights, then there should be same obligations and duties and responsibilities. Of course, that's not fair. Because women are less stronger physically, they're less stronger than men. They're not capable of fighting. It's not in their nature to fight. They don't like violence. Thus, if we want to talk about same rights, that's fine if they were exactly the same, biologically and psychologically, but they're not the same. That is why we are proponents of equal rights, not same rights. Equal rights, there's a balance. Islam has put a balance between the rights of men and women. Inshallah, the nights to come, after giving this introduction about the differences, the biological and the psychological differences between men and women, I think we are now ready to tackle the issues on the laws. Why does Islam have certain laws? Inshallah, we shall begin this tomorrow. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi.